Hello and welcome to Garry's Pod. I'm excited to be here today. I know it's been a while since I've talked to anybody, partially because there just hasn't been a whole lot that I've liked to say, but that's changing very quickly. As a young man, I would like to own a house, and I'd like to have many, many children, and I would like to get married. And I don't want my house to be some shack in a giant development community with 1,000 other shacks just like it, where I pay $700,000 to buy the house made out of paper and toothpicks. I would love to buy land. I would love to have animals and drive four-wheelers, have an area where I can shoot guns and grow crops. However, that is almost unrealistic. The average farm in my area is selling for $550,000. That's 7 acres or so, including a house, which right now may not seem ludicrous, but the same farm sold only 5 or 6 years ago for $220,000. The increase is over double, and I think that it's completely unacceptable. Wages are not increasing with the prices of housing, with the prices of real estate in general. So this is including land, investment properties. Anything that you could buy with your money is becoming far more expensive, and your income is not going up along with it. And this is so frustrating. At least to me it is, and it's got to be frustrating to people who don't own homes, people that are under 35. The older that the generation gets, the better off that they had it. This is the first time in American history where the current generation, Gen Z, and I believe millennials may be grandfathered into this too. I'm not entirely sure. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to them because they're really hard to be around and to listen to and to look at. But Gen Z, and I should probably do my research, but whatever. Gen Z and millennials, we're the first generation to be poorer than our parents. That's incredible. That is incredible. Think about that. For all of American history, each generation was wealthier than their parents. We had a sustainable level of growth in our country, and it was fantastic, absolutely lovely. But that just doesn't exist anymore, and I think that it's for many reasons. I think one of them is probably, maybe I won't say it. I'll save it for another day. But there's a certain country that I think shouldn't be as involved in America as they are. I think another reason is it's a lot easier to control people when they don't have anything of their own. You can rent someone a car. You can have them take rideshare services. You can rent them a house. You can rent them an apartment. What I'm noticing is that a lot of homes are now popping up. New constructions are popping up, but you're never going to buy one. They're being built to rent. You know how horrifying that is? Whole neighborhoods popping up where you can't own a single blade of grass. Every single grain of dirt is 100% owned by a giant conglomerate. That's haunting. How are people not freaking out about this? This is something we need to be rioting in the streets over. The government should fear us. They're taking away our ability to live the American dream. This is something that every other generation in American history has been able to do. In fact, the 40-hour work week was designed with the consideration of there being a stay-at-home partner. So whenever the 40-hour work week was made, they were already assuming that your wife was at home with the kids and you were going to be bringing home all the money. One person working only 40 hours a week with Saturday and Sunday off was going to be able to bring home an entire income for a family without a partner working. That's incredible. That's just not possible now. I mean, perhaps it is for someone with high education that's working in a very professional field with high income. But the average person, even somebody with a bachelor's degree or someone who has gone to a trade school making $30, $35 an hour, they cannot afford to raise a family on their own. They just can't do it. And if they somehow manage to do it, they're not going to be investing in their retirement. They're not going to be investing into their savings. They're not going to be buying stock or mutual funds, ETFs. They're not going to be buying land. They're not going to be saving for children's college. The money is going to be for survival only. This should enrage you. This should make you angrier than everything you've ever been promised as a child growing up, thinking about starting a family, thinking about owning land and having the dog running around in the backyard with the nice fence. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. Every single year, houses are going to continue to get more expensive. We saw a very, very, very steep jump between 2020 and 2022. Before 2020, the market was literally up and down. It was up and down, and it happened. It started going up in 2015 from this chart that I have that goes back to 2015. It was probably going up before then as well. But from 2015, we were seeing just tiny bumps up each year. with 2017 and 2018 being about the same, with a little bit of a bump in between, and 2018 and 2019 being about the same. But 2020, after 2020, there was never a dip in the market again. Well, that's maybe exaggerating a little bit. There were dips in the market, but the market has never been worse than it is. And this is incredibly frustrating. Seriously, I can't stress this enough. You should be mad. You should be foaming at the mouth. You should be gnashing teeth and punching your walls. Well, they're probably not your walls. They're probably your landlord's walls, because you will own nothing. You will own nothing. Rideshare is becoming the norm. Owning a car is becoming very, very expensive as well, with interest rates being higher than they've ever been before. They want us to buy new cars, go into exorbitant amounts of debt, and continue paying for all your life. Or you can take rideshare apps everywhere, and every single time you call an Uber or a Lyft, you're going to pay a little bit of taxes. You're going to take that car somewhere, and wherever you end up at, you're probably going to buy something and pay more in taxes, and then take the same rideshare back home, pay more in taxes. We exist purely as a means of income for corporations and the federal government. This is not how America was supposed to operate. Our government is supposed to be in a constant state of fear. Being a politician, you are supposed to be a servant. You are supposed to be bent at the knee to your constituents, but we see more and more politicians get into the profession and leave millionaires and billionaires. Maybe we haven't seen billionaires. I don't know about that yet. We're seeing a lot of billionaires enter politics, though, with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek is running for Ohio governor, which is the state that I live in. And personally, I've never had a problem with Vivek. In fact, I liked that he said a while ago that the U.S. should stop military funding to Israel. However, it appears he's backpedaled that comment since then. Think about that as well. And I wasn't going to talk about Israel, but now I am. We supply them with billions of dollars, man. Billions of dollars. At one point, whenever after Israel's founding, we were supplying them with a lot of money as well. But it was in legitimate aid. It was in food. It was in industry. It was in subsidies. It was in things that made sense for a new country. But now we give them weapons. We give them weapons and weapons and weapons, and then the weapons that you and I pay for with our taxes are used to kill children. I don't know if I'll include some photos. I don't know if you've seen what the Gaza Strip looks like. I was pretty ambivalent on the entire Israel-Gaza thing until I saw the satellite images of what Gaza looks like now. Because it made sense for me as someone living in the Western world, consuming Western media, that yeah, Hamas is probably operating out of some hospitals. They're probably operating in the basements of schools and other public facilities. And it's really unfortunate that Israel has to go in and surgically attack these places. That's not what's happening. Israel, there is no caution being taken to ensure that they're not hurting civilians or children. It is absolutely baffling. They are trying to completely destroy everything on the Gaza Strip. Absolutely everything. Every single building, every single person. When you see these images, it should shock you. It should shock you. I was an Israel supporter before I saw these images. I thought Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel has a right to exist. They're not defending themselves. This is a full Holocaust. Israel is absolutely and totally destroying the people of Gaza. And this isn't a situation where I'm standing up for Hamas. I think that Hamas and Hezbollah and the other ones, I think that they are all very violent terrorist organizations. And I would love to see them removed or pacified. But the children and the women are not terrorists. Even many of the men, there are Christians, there are Catholics in Gaza. In fact, the only Catholic church in Gaza was struck by an Israeli tank. And if you look at the images of that, I'll include some of those as well. If you look at some of the images of the Catholic church that was hit, it kind of just looks like the tank was taking a pot shot at the cross and missed. I'm a Christian, and I'm not ashamed of that. In fact, I find a lot of the shield that keeps me from being a full-on doomer is Christianity, knowing that there was at one time a man who walked the earth that was perfect, and that he made a promise that through my faith in him, I will be able to experience heaven. If I did not have Christ, it would be very, very hard to rationalize or understand any of the evil in the world. And rationalize is probably the wrong word, because it's not rational to do what Israel's doing. It's just evil. Completely evil. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's doubly frustrating because we as Americans, and as I'm sure it's a lot of the world as well, we are tied up in this. We have bought our neighbor a gun and he's using it to kill children. We cannot pretend like our hands are off, and we have to start saying something. You know, there's a lot of guilt that sits with me. I go to work every day, come home, go to bed, go to my church and whatever else public things I like to do, and I can pretend like I'm morally clear that this does not involve me. It's something that I don't have to talk to people about, that no one else is mentioning to me. This is horrific. It's inexcusable. And the Israelis hide behind the cover of the Holocaust. They hide behind the cover of anti-Semitism. And that is what they use as a shield against all criticism. If you criticize the Israeli government or the actions of Jewish Israelis in the United States, or the Israel lobby in the United States, or the U.S. funding Israel, or the Israeli offensives into all of its neighbors, and the history of Israel and the region, if you question any of these things, you will be called a Nazi, you'll be called a racist, an anti-Semite, you will be banned from social media, fired from your job. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. Jewish people are not the enemy. I have no problem with Jewish people. In fact, I love them. I have many Jewish friends, and I think that they're wonderful. They're so much fun to talk to. And all the Jews that I've met personally have been very, very smart. They've been well-spoken. They've been good confidants. My issue is with the Israeli regime. I think that the Israeli government is evil. And I think that it puts spies, and I think that it puts agents inside of other governments. I think that it finds little ways to loophole rules, like with AIPAC in the United States not being considered a foreign lobby. There's so much we have to consider now, and I think people are starting to notice this. Actually, that's something that's crazy too. Me saying the word notice right there is classified by the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. It's classified as an anti-Semitic slang or an anti-Semitic term. Saying the word notice. If you notice anything about Israel acting a little shady, they consider it. They consider just saying the word notice or noticing. They consider that to be anti-Semitic. We're also seeing policies in the United States now where people could lose their citizenship if they're found criticizing Israel. People could be deported. People already can be removed from colleges. I would like to make something very clear. Free speech is free speech. We cannot draw all of these lines around it to protect the feelings of people, especially when those feelings are like, I'm not criticizing Jewish people. No one is. I feel like that's one of the biggest straw man here. Strawmans? I feel like it's one of the biggest straw man arguments here is that we are criticizing the Jews. That's not what we're doing. We are saying stop killing children, stop spying on the United States and all of the people that you claim to be your allies, stop interfering in our elections, stop interfering in our economy. We want the Israeli government out. We don't want to give you money anymore, but for some reason, our government keeps giving you money. And why is Donald Trump connected to Jeffrey Epstein, and why is Jeffrey Epstein connected to Mossad? Where did he get his money from? He was a teacher. He got fired because he was touching children or acting inappropriately with young girls or something. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's very hard to slander the name of Jeffrey Epstein. Also, he's dead. This dude was a nobody. A nobody. He was teaching at some school and ended up making his way into owning an island and multiple houses where he was running the largest pedophile ring on the planet. But for some reason, now we're told he was running it, but only for himself. And Ghislaine Maxwell, who was already tried and convicted for sex trafficking, was only sex trafficking for him. But Jeffrey Epstein owned a plane and an island, and on this island, he claimed everything was going down. That's where all of the assaults and attacks were happening. And all of these popular people, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump now. Well, Donald Trump claims he never had the privilege of attending the island, which is a crazy thing to say. If I knew my friend was raping children and he was inviting people over and he said, and then someone asked me, did you ever go over there? Serious? What was going on? Did you ever go over there? Nope, I didn't have the privilege of going over. What? Shoot me in the head if I ever say that, man. Shoot me in the fucking head. That's unacceptable. And we hear it and we just say, well, he wasn't on the island. It's like, dude, I probably was on the island, let's be honest. But if he wasn't, he was seething that he didn't get to get his hands on anything at that fucking island. We have got to start saying something. We've got to start acting out. Our right to protest peacefully is something that we need to exercise as often as we exercise our Achilles tendon, as often as we exercise our biceps. We need to, with every word we speak, it should be a curl of a dumbbell. We've got to be moving and moving and moving. The second we give them any foothold, they will take a step forward towards us. We have got to keep them on their heels, got to keep pushing, keep talking, keep researching. So much, the official story now has changed 5 or 6 times about the Epstein thing. First there was a list, then there wasn't a list, then there was a list, but it was altered by the Democrats. And then a bunch of the Democrats were on the list, and now, well, Trump was taken off the list by the FBI, and now we're saying, well, the girl, one of the accusers, I can't remember, her last name is like Defray, or Giffray, who was an accuser of Jeffrey Epstein, who randomly killed herself after saying she wasn't suicidal, worked with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And then Trump says Epstein stole her from him, as in, he was poaching employees. Epstein was poaching employees, and he poached Giffray from Trump. And then Trump said Jeffrey Epstein was actually banned from Mar-a-Lago for acting inappropriate with the staff. Dude, sounds to me like you may have provided him a young lady who would later come out to accuse him of sexual deviancy. This is unbelievable. He's still getting away with it. We haven't heard anything about articles of impeachment or anything, which is crazy. In 2016 until 2020, the articles of impeachment were going around as often as like an envelope with a stamp on it. We have got to continue putting pressure, but because this story kind of involves Israel, because Mossad has been mentioned, and because, let's be honest, most of our Congress people are probably on the list and have probably been to the island or received money or something else from Jeffrey Epstein, they are keeping their lips tightly sealed. I think there's 25 or 26 different Congress people right now trying to push to get all of the files revealed, but it will never happen. It will never happen. They will burn all the files in front of our faces before they let us see the names on that list, and they will keep Trump in office. They're going to ensure that the next person that follows him up is someone who is not going to be able to accomplish anything. It will likely be J.D. Vance, friend of Palantir founder Peter Thiel, someone who also cannot be trusted, another Israeli. Peter Thiel is a whole nother story. Essentially, Palantir is going to know everything about you. It's going to know your favorite food, and it's going to know which breed of dog makes your eyes itch. You need to be worried. You need to be angry. This is a clear crossing of the line, and most people don't understand what a big deal it is. The government is taking the biggest step they've ever taken against our liberties. And they're just testing to make sure that it doesn't mean all hell will break loose. Because if they can get past this, then they're home free. They will be able to do whatever they want. If they can change the narrative and push a story. You know, it was in 1984. Not the year, but the book. Let me find the quote. Yeah, George Orwell in 1984 said, "The party told you to reject the evidence of your own eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command." That is what's happening right now. It's the final and most essential command, because if we will do this for them, if we will reject the evidence of our own eyes and ears, then we will do it forever. We will let them pass whatever they need to pass. We will let them hide whatever they need to hide. They will raise housing prices by $30 million and then rent it out to us for $100,000 a month. We will be living on the streets with phones in our hands that we owe the government for, and these phones are tracking our faces and collecting all of our data and selling it to someone else. There are going to be 100 rich billionaires and trillionaires in our government and 320 million poor people living on the street. We have got to act now. We've got to act quickly. Our numbers are going to be our greatest weapon here. We need to be loud. We need to let them know that they have a serious problem here. Trump's approval rating is already dropping very, very quickly. This is good news. This is good news. He was recorded in a call having said that his people are starting to turn against Israel, which is good news. I think that the majority of American citizens at this point probably do not support Israel anymore. There's this weird evangelical Christian thing where people think that because the Bible says he who blesses Israel will be blessed, means we need to give them money so they can kill their neighbors. Also, side note, that's not what Israel means in the Bible. It doesn't mean the modern state of Israel. Israel was the name of the covenant, of the followers of Abraham, the descendants of Abraham, but the descendants of Abraham, after the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, went from being called Jews into being Christians. So we are still Israel. Israel is the modern day followers of Jesus. The nation of Israel just picked a very nice name so they could be nestled right into the middle of Christian theology. They don't believe Jesus Christ was the Messiah. They think he's in a boiling pot of excrement in hell. But they're going to ask Christians for money, and they're going to ask Christians, you should come to the Holy Land. You should come to the Holy Land. Unbelievable. Something that I watched in a video was that if Kim Jong-un right now took over Israel, killed every single Jewish person there, and still called it Israel, would evangelical Christians still feel called to donate to it and bless Israel because it's called Israel? If I start an online store and call it Israel, will Christians give money to me? What defines Israel to them? That's all I've got today. I knew this wasn't going to be super long. I just had a lot on my mind, and I've been freaking out about this and yelling about it to people who just don't care, but they need to, and I feel like if I just scream into the void in a different direction, it might be more beneficial. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have not, then I completely understand. There wasn't much good news. If there's something you'd like for me to cover, please leave it in the comments. I love you immensely, and it's not over until Jesus Christ comes back.